after Theresa speaks, then we are open for any Q&A that you might have, and I've got more data if you'd like it, so thank you.
So again, my name is Theresa Vallez-Kelly, and I'm the coordinator for the County Office of Education Safe Routes program, and I've been there since mid-December. And my background is in education, health, program coordination, and then I have just a personal passion for especially pedestrian safety, because I used to live in San Francisco. I'd see all the time these, hear about people getting hit by cars, seeing these memorials pop up everywhere, and then I had the experience of a student that I worked very closely with getting hit and killed by a car when she was in college. So it's just something that, and then the bicyclist safety right there with it. So why Safe Routes to School? So when most people hear about Safe Routes to School, the goal of Safe Routes is to get kids out of the car walking and biking to school. And most people think, well, why do we need a program for that? Because I used to walk and bike to school. But what we're thinking about is what our neighborhoods and our communities were like when we were growing up, and when most people did walk and bike to school. And if kids lived close to their school, they were more likely to walk and bike. What you see here is on the left is a Daly City neighborhood in 1960. So you can see it's, the street looks pretty clear. I think there looks like there's sidewalks there, and then you see on the right, Daly City neighborhood today. Lots of traffic. Would be hard to find a parking spot. So it's a different world today, as we all know, than it was when most of us were growing up. Back in 1969, you'll find this on if you Google Safe Routes to School, this will be the first thing that comes up. In 1969, 50% of all children in the United States walked and biked to school, and if they lived within a mile of the school, 90% walked or biked to school. Today, it's fewer than 15%. And most of the traffic congestion around schools is related today, and we've all been in it, is related to parents taking their kids to school. Can you do that?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. So this might look familiar to you. I found this on, I wanted to get pictures that maybe you all would identify with. This is the Oakland traffic jam. Today there's far more traffic on the road, and up to 15% of the morning commute traffic in San Mateo County can be attributed to school-related traffic. And I know, like, for myself, my son goes to school in Belmont, and when I've driven him to school, it takes a long time to get up Ralston and to make a left turn to get to his school, but I discovered there's a bus I can drop him off at the corner, and I can go to work, and he gets up to school in like 5 minutes if I just take him a little bit earlier. So as we're talking about Safe Routes to School, and I know you're the bike commission, but it's important to remember that all of us are also pedestrians. So if we make it safe for bicyclists, if it's safe for pedestrians, it's going to be safe for bicyclists too. So also, another goal of Safe Routes to School is to improve air quality, so reducing traffic congestion, but also reducing vehicle emissions, so improving air quality around schools, because as traffic increases, our air quality greatly deteriorates, and passenger vehicles, as we know, are a major pollution contributor. And then that leads to health problems with, just breathing in those nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxide, like all that stuff that the cars are spewing out into the air. And so Safe Routes to School also helps with, hopefully, if it's all done correctly, it helps improve the air quality, and then also improve the health of our children and then everyone that lives in the area. So this also hopefully looks familiar. Oak Grove and I don't remember the cross street, but both of these are from Menlo Park. So with more cars on the road, there are more dangers, and then with fewer breaks in traffic, it's harder for students to cross. And then with people running late and just trying to get where they're going, and they speed, and that's in surveys that we've done with Safe Routes to School, one of the number one parental fear is the speed of traffic, and it's not so much, it's a reality. Like, people do drive fast because they're trying to get to where they're going. Next, yeah. So the way Safe Routes to School approaches this is through the 6 E's of Safe Routes to School. And that's education, encouragement, engineering, enforcement, evaluation, and equity. And the first one, education. So in first let me tell you how Safe Routes to School works in San Mateo County, because what I've discovered is it's very different than how it works in Palo Alto or in other counties or cities. So the first thing I discovered is that it's unusual, according to other Safe Routes to School practitioners, for the Safe Routes to School coordinator to be associated with the County Office of Education, because most are associated with public health or with transportation related agencies. But just upon further discussion with the different people I've met at conferences, we've talked about how the way that most Safe Routes to School practitioners get into run their program is by getting into schools. So it makes sense to have someone in the County Office of Education who already has that in with the schools. So the way it works in San Mateo County is I manage a grant program, and the money is federal and local dollars, and it comes to us through the City County Association of Governments. And every spring we put out a call for projects, and schools or districts can apply for funds to have to implement this program. And then I support the grantees in making sure they follow through with all of their goals and objectives for the year. So for the coming school year, for 16-17, we have 17 grantees, and they're all up and down the peninsula. Most of them are districts. There are a few single schools that applied. Menlo Atherton has a grant for next year. And there are a couple of community organizations that work with schools that got the grant. This school year that just ended, Menlo Park City School District did have a grant, but they chose not to reapply. I'm not sure why, but I think part of it had to do with they didn't really have a coordinator it was kind of one of those things where it was just kind of dumped on someone. And the person that it was given to was an accountant in the district office, who was just like, when I met with her several times, she's just like, I'm doing what I can, but I'm an accountant. Like, I'm not even in the schools. So Menlo Park City School District does not have it for this coming school year. But so back to the 6 C's. So the first E, education. All of the schools and districts that have the grant, they have some type of education, bicycle and pedestrian education that they do with their students. We have several partners that partner agencies that they utilize. Y Bike is a bicycle. They come out and do bicycle education. They do everything from teach kids who don't know how to ride a bike to teaching them all of the safety signals, how to ride a bike safely. There's also Silicon Valley Bike Coalition, who does the same thing. Wheel Kids, which is a local, I think they're around here. So there's several different partner agencies that the schools partner with to do bike rodeos, bike and pedestrian education workshops, parent education workshops, family fun education events. San Carlos just participated in their San Carlos Hometown Days. It was a 2-day event, and Safe Routes to School San Carlos was there, and they promoted the program to families that came to that event. I know Belmont does a family fun night where you can bring your bike and you can get your bike tuned up, and then there's a bicycle rodeo and the whole family can do it together. And then they also educate, it's interesting you brought up route maps, because they educate students on like the best ways to get to school. And usually that involves work with some kind of a transportation consultant that does a walk audit and helps figure out the best ways, and doesn't put a caveat like, here's the way to go, but don't go that way because you might get hit by a car. Okay, the next D is encouragement. And this is just how, so we want to educate the students on how to get to school safely and how to cross the street safely, how to ride their bike safely, but also encourage them. So this year, since I've started, we did a big push for Earth Day and Bike to School Day to be encouragement days for the students. So Earth Day was on April 22nd, and it was just walk, bike to school day. And then I was at one of the schools. They had students sign in when they arrived, and they got like a little incentive or a little prize for like a pencil or an eraser that said Safe Routes to School, just for walking or biking to school. And then this year, Bike to School Day happened to be on May 4th, which is Star Wars Day. So we had May the 4th be with you. And we had these posters in all of the schools that had the program, and I actually dropped some off at Laurel School. I don't know if you saw them, if they hung them up, but I talked to the, I think it was the vice principal there, and she asked for some. So that was just another way to encourage kids to walk and bike to school. And I was at one school in San Carlos because I just wanted to see how many kids came, and it was amazing. There were so many kids walking, biking, scootering to school. It was really amazing. So a lot of schools also have Wednesday, like walking Wednesdays or walking Friday days, and they have a encouragement day like every Wednesday or every Friday or once a month, that they can only do it once a month, where they really encourage students to walk or bike or take some kind of active mode of transportation to school that day. And there's one school in Daly City, Tobias School. They're an elementary school, and they had a grant this year, and prior to my starting in this position in December, there was no one in my position in the fall. And so when I started in January, I met with all of the Safe Routes to School coordinators, and the Tobias principal was the one who was kind of in charge at the school. And she told me, I have to be honest with you, I haven't done anything because I'm a new principal, and nobody's been around to help me with this. So anyway, we talked, and she had me come in and present to her PTA. And within probably 2 weeks of that presentation, they started walking Wednesdays, and they did them, I think it was the last 3 months of school. Every Wednesday, they had 77% of their students walking to school. It's a neighborhood school. It was pretty amazing. I went one Wednesday because I wanted to check it out, and it was really fun to watch. Like, the students would run up, and there was a place where they could sign in by grade level, and they would sign in, and they were really excited because they wanted to see like which class would win, and I don't know what the prizes were, but it was pretty neat to see them go from nothing to that, and then to see the staff be excited about it as well. So the next E is engineering. And so some of the schools, when Safe Routes to School in San Mateo County first started, most of the schools had walk and bike audits done. Now that the program's been around for a little while, most of the schools that are in the program have already had the walk and bike audits, so we haven't had as many done. But when that was first, when the walk and bike audits were first being done, they also would include the route maps. So have you guys had any walk audits done, or have you been on a walk audit or a bike audit? So we have several engineering firms that we work with, and the schools would use some of their grant money to contract with a firm to come and do a walk audit or a bike audit around the school, where they would just walk with the principal, with some of the community members, some of the other stakeholders at the school, and just walk around the neighborhood and kind of figure out where are hot spots for possible problems, and then come with recommendations for the school to take care of those issues. And then the schools that have infrastructure money could use some of that money or work with the city to correct some of those hot spots.
I mean, 2020 did it, part of their GM. They did that.
Yeah, they did it with
W-Trans.
right. So this year, this coming school year, Las Lomitas School District did apply for a grant. They only applied for infrastructure money. We gave them $15,000, and they're going to use it. There were 2 projects that they were thinking of using it on, and I can only remember one of them. One of them was developing a path and I haven't been to the school that they're talking about, but it was a path to redirect student traffic, because I guess the students were leaving the school by a way where there was a lot of traffic, so they want to
bypass a one-way street.
Right. Are you Eric?
Yes.
Oh, hi.
Hi,
I'm
nice to meet
Teresa. Hi. We talked on the phone.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We did 2 proposals. One was bike racks for our Los Alamitos school
Oh, that's
to change the approach to come via Barney. And the other is to build a bike path on a campus property that bypasses a one-way stretch of Alt Schul that the kids like to ride the wrong way down the one-way stretch after school when they leave, which is also where our school drop-off is. And so it's this sort of amalgamation of people walking, people riding their bike the wrong way on the sidewalk or on the street, and then cars coming to pick up. So we're gonna we're gonna work to build a bike path on campus, just on the inside of our fence. And so we're gonna use actually our funds from both grants to apply it to that one project.
So the Safe Routes to School infrastructure money from this grant, it can only be used on infrastructure on school property, but a lot of schools also will partner with the city, and there's OBAG 2 money that's going to become available. And what I've been told is that by CCAG is that the OBAG 2 funds need to be used on projects that are within a mile of a school. So a school that has had a walk audit and has certain recommendations that are not on school property but are on city property can go to their city and partner hopefully with them to have the money, the project, the funds that they get from OBAG 2 go towards taking care of some of those issues. And then the next one, enforcement. So this is another part of Safe Routes to School. Just this shows that some schools have kiddie valets. So they have the kids trained in opening the car doors, and a lot of the coordinators will use their funds to to get signage, things to help parents know like the best way, so that it's not crazy, like dropping their kids off to school. Like what you were talking about kids just kind of being dropped off everywhere, that sounds a little nuts. I don't know if you remember way back in the 80s, Mr. Mom, Michael Keaton, remember? He took his kids to school and everyone was yelling, "You're doing it wrong." So this is, the whole enforcement thing is like helping parents do it right, so that everybody stays safe and so that people aren't just dropping their kids off wherever. And then a lot of schools will partner with their law enforcement. I think pretty much all the schools in San Mateo County have a school resource officer that they can work with, or they should. There should be somebody in the police department assigned to the school that they can partner with to help enforce traffic around the school. And then the last E, equity. So a lot of times people think that equality and equity are the same thing. So equality is just giving everybody the same thing, but equity is giving everybody what they need to be successful. And it's important to remember that Menlo Park is already a walked community and a biked community by people who are walking and biking just because they have no other way to get to where they're going. They have to walk and bike. So I think when whatever, however you move forward, just if you make Menlo Park, if we make it safe for the most vulnerable people in Menlo Park, it's going to be safe for everybody. And then just some ideas just to kind of bring Menlo Park together, and these are like kind of concrete ideas, is I went to a conference recently. Have you heard of Ciclavia? So, so it started in Bogota, Colombia, and then LA, I guess, has a big one. They do, I don't know how many Sundays a year, but Jessica and I were talking, and that just seems like such a great way to just get people out on the streets and using the street in a different way, so that they start thinking about that our streets are for everyone, not just for cars, because I think just as a society we've become very car-centric, and it just maybe starts shifting, planting that seed that we have to remember, like, everybody's a pedestrian and a lot of people are bicyclists and there are a lot of drivers. So I don't know, that's just an idea, because you guys have some really nice streets. We were driving around before we came here just to kind of check out Coleman Avenue, and I know it's really different right now because there's nobody out, so it's really nice, but And then just to close, so making progress with all of these, the 6 C's of Safe Routes to School, it really involves collaboration from all the stakeholders. So there needs to be ongoing collaboration between the school district, city government, the police department, county health, like everybody needs to be involved. And then that whole idea of just educating all constituents, because it's not, just the driver's fault when something happens, or the bicyclist's fault, or the pedestrian's fault. Like everybody needs to be educated so that we all stay safe. Like even coming here tonight, I was waiting. What street were we on? Was it Oak Grove?
turning
No,
onto
Laurel.
Laurel. It was
I
about
was
turning
I was
Laurel.
turning right, and there was a bicyclist. I saw her. There were 2 actually. One had, and another thing we noticed, a lot of people wear their helmets, which is really nice to see. But there was 2 bicyclists, adults. One didn't have her helmet on, and one did. And we came to whatever street that is out there. Yeah. And then I was gonna make a right, and so I waited because I didn't want to, get them stuck between the car and and one of them went through, and then the other one just kind of, I don't know, I think she was looking at her cell phone. So I waited and waited because I thought, well, if I go and then she goes, then she's gonna I'm either gonna hit her or she's gonna hit me. So, and she didn't even look, like she just went, she didn't even make eye contact, make sure it was okay to go. She just went. So I think it is a thing, it is about educating all constituents. Like everybody needs to be educated and made more aware of just, the safety involved in driving, walking, and biking.